Friday, the 15th of July, the world witnessed the dramatic scenes of an attempted coup against the Islamist president of Turkey, Recep Erdogan. It seemed for a while that one of the most powerful and stable governments of the Middle East would be overthrown by the military loyal to the secular ideology of the modern state of Turkey. We witnessed via our television screens tanks taking to the streets of Istanbul, soldiers taking control of the headquarters of the ruling party, the parliament being bombed, and the seizure of the state broadcaster whilst broadcasting real-time events of the attempted coup taking place. The military announced that they were in control of the country and called for a curfew on the streets of Istanbul. President Erdogan managed to get a message to his supporters via FaceTime on his iPhone to tell them to take to the streets and defend democracy. Erdogan supporters took to the streets to confront the military until the police and military forces loyal to the regime could overthrow the attempted coup plotters, and in less than 24 hours the coup had failed. President Erdogan emerged stronger and more powerful than before. The Western media reported this attempted coup as a success for democracy, but we need to examine the events in Turkey more closely to realise that something more sinister and dangerous is taking place to a key NATO ally that is a bridge between Europe and Asia. In the aftermath of the attempted coup to overthrow the Islamist elected President Erdogan, he has declared 3 months national state of emergency that allows the President and his cabinet to bypass Parliament when drafting new laws and to restrict and suspend freedoms. He has also vowed that all the viruses within the armed forces will be cleansed, and we have seen in the matter of days how he's purged the civil service, military and those working for the state that he suspects of being disloyal to him. 2,745 judges and prosecutors are being questioned and detained, and at least 2,839 soldiers and officers have been arrested. He is carrying out an alarming purge with anyone in opposition to him, in which his political opponents and journalists will now suffer even harsher restraints and reprisals. He's calling for the death penalty to be reintroduced to execute his opponents, despite opposition from the European Union, who are speeding up Turkey's process to become a member of the European Union. To understand what is going on in Turkey between the autocratic Islamist president and the secular forces, we need first to grasp a brief historical understanding of modern Turkey. In World War I, Turkey had an empire called the Ottoman Empire. At the height of its power, it controlled virtually all of the Middle East, including North Africa, even into the Balkans in Europe. The Ottoman Empire, once the war broke out, aligned itself with Germany and the Austro-Hungarian Empire against the British, French and Russians. The Ottomans lost the war, and with its territory in the Arab world now being controlled by the British and the French, after the devastation of World War I, a revolutionary officer took power, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, who became the modern father of the Turkish nation. He introduced secularism as the main ideology of the new Turkish Republic and stirred the direction of Turkey away from the Middle East and towards Europe. After World War II, and with the start of the Cold War between the Soviet Union and the United States, Turkey became a key member of NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the Western military alliance created to stop Soviet expansionism and aggression. In 1952, Turkey was the first Muslim nation to recognize the newly established State of Israel and called upon the Arab nations to end their military hostilities towards Israel and make peace with the Jewish state. Turkey had been a force for good in the Middle East until the election of President Erdogan in 2003, as he started a process of Islamization and a purge of the secular opposition, and was able to build a bigger power base for himself through the strength of the Turkish economy that has brought an increase of prosperity to the nation. He has been in a battle with Turkey's secular establishment ever since, as it has been the military that have been the guardians of Atatürk's secular ideology. The stated coup, whether genuine or staged, will empower and embolden President Erdogan to increase his powers, as he has already moved Turkey away from being a parliamentary presidency to an all-powerful executive presidency. Erdogan said, "Democracy is like a train. When you reach your destination, you get off." Erdogan has also said about his secular opposition, "You cannot be both secular and a Muslim," he declared. "You will either be a Muslim or secular. When both are together, they create reverse magnetism, they repel one another. For them to exist together is not a possibility. Therefore, it is not possible for a person who says, I am a Muslim, to go on and say, I am a secular too. And that is that, because Allah, the creator of the Muslim, has absolute power and rule. This is an extremely troubling statement, and Western governments should be seriously concerned with what's happening in Turkey, especially with President Erdogan creating for himself totalitarian powers. Sadly, the US administration has decided to stand with the Turkish president, and the US Secretary of State John Kerry has said, we stand with the government of Turkey. Turkey is an important and vital NATO ally and strategically important to the West. But in the aftermath of the attempted coup, the Turkish government has suspended the US military from using Ankara air base to conduct airstrikes against ISIS in Syria that will only empower ISIS. In conclusion, what does the attempted coup show us? Firstly, that Western governments should be very concerned with President Erdogan's purging of all opposition to his presidency. Secondly, it is not democratic elections that the West should be concerned with, as shown by US and European support for Turkey's president, but the institutions of democracy. Those include a robust political opposition, freedom of speech, freedom of press, a free and independent judiciary, and freedom of religion. These are in real danger, and let us remind ourselves that Hitler was democratically elected, but once in power created a totalitarian regime. The danger is that Turkey is going in the same direction under the leadership of Erdogan. Western governments now need to speak out against the erosion and the purging of those important democratic institutions in Turkey, suspend Turkey's application for membership of the EU, and think about imposing economic sanctions on Turkey. If the West does nothing and continues its support for President Erdogan, then in the years to come, we could see Turkey become a formidable enemy of the West.